Hi everyone and welcome back to King Po Myers. I'm Ariadna.
And I'm Dylan.
And today we have another beautiful, wonderful guest that I'm super excited about. I'm getting all like nervous and giddy all into one.
Yes, we can tell,
I
even
know,
in
right?
pre-production.
Who do we have today, Dylan?
We have the author of Riley's excellent and not at all fake Exorcism Service by Sophia. How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Great, thank you.
Doing really good. Yes, it's definitely a mouthful of a book of a title.
It's very long.
It's a great title.
And I love it. I already love it because I love the name Riley. So that it's like, oh my God, that's like one of my favorite names ever. And
it's one of my top names too. I love it. I love that it can go both ways, guy or girl. It's a cute name.
I know, right?
It really can. Never
it
thought about
reminds
that way.
me of I've liked it before, but we loved Boy Meets World, and then we saw Girl Meets World, and the main character is Riley. And I was like, oh, that name, I swear. And then you also wrote Riley, and I'm like, okay. Okay. It's a really cool name. I don't know what it means though. I should look it up because that's just
okay.
It's very me. But anyway.
I actually don't know what it means either. That's a little embarrassing.
That's a cool name.
Just a good name.
Exactly. Before we dive in to your book, of course, tell us a little about yourself, Sophie.
All right. Well, I'm from New Jersey, and I've just started writing, more consistently in the past year or so. Before that, I was a personal trainer, and then the pandemic hit, so I stopped doing that. And now I'm just really trying to focus on my writing, and I hope to keep going at it.
Well, you definitely should. I fell in love with your book, and I can't wait to rave about it a little bit more. First of all, I'm super thrilled that you reached out to us. You reached out to us probably, I want to say late last year at some point of life.
Yeah, no, it was a while ago.
Exactly. I think by now it's definitely like a few months ago. Yeah. And I don't know, when did Riley come out? When did Riley's excellent and not so all fake Exorcism Service come out?
It came out about 6 months ago.
That's what I thought.
I'm getting to the 6 month mark now.
Exactly. And that's when you reached out, and we couldn't get your book right away, but we got it, I know, for Christmas, basically Christmas, New Year's kind of deal. And I started reading it kind of right away. I couldn't put it down because it's so good. It's such a fun and easy read. Like, oh my God, I can't wait to go once again into it a little bit more. But we're so happy that you did reach out to us, and you're like, hey, you guys like books and horror books and Halloween books.
Indeed we do.
Well, yeah, I loved your Instagram, and I was like, they seem really cool. So I was like, I might as well just give it a shot. I was contacting some people, and I was like, you know what, worst case scenario, they never talk back to me, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what I always say. You already have the no, go for the yes.
Yeah,
it's that
go
simple,
for it.
basically.
Might as well try.
Exactly. So for personal trainer to writing. Yeah. When did you start writing though? When did your love for writing begin?
I've been coming up with stories since I was a little kid. They weren't good at all, of course, when I was a kid. And I started doing a little bit more when I got to college. I loved writing. I loved creating stories. I just never thought I could actually do it myself. But then I took some creative writing courses in college, and I realized I kind of had a little knack for it. I did some freelance work. I've ghostwritten some things that I, can't talk about. Kind of goes with the territory.
Exactly. But that's still pretty cool though. That's
yeah. My early 20s, I never really did any writing for myself, and I just decided, with the pandemic and not having a job, I was like, why don't I sit down and actually write something that I've been thinking about for.
So when did you start writing this story?
Very roughly, the very first idea of it, probably high school.
Oh, wow.
It was so different back then. It was such a serious, I thought it was going to be this very serious story. I based it, I was in Catholic school, so I was taking a lot of religious courses back then, and that's kind of what sparked the original idea. And Riley actually wasn't in it at all. It was a very just more classic horror story. That all of that came in later.
Yeah, because I would not describe the book serious at all. It's lots
No,
of
it's
fun.
not.
It's just, but like there's something about it that just makes you want to read more. And you know it's a Halloween / horror, like I don't know, it's not like deep horror by any means. I mean, I don't like horror. The whole family, KPM fam knows. So for me, it was pretty easy. I'm like, okay, this actually I can read, and I had fun reading it. But there's a demon, and there's like a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And you're like, okay, that's cool. So there's something
Yeah,
about
you
it that
definitely don't have to be like a huge horror lover to read the book. It's not super gory or anything like that. It's really fun and light. And I kind of wanted to keep it that way, at least for my first book. I was like, I'd like my mom and my dad to maybe read it and not like hate me. Plus, with everything going on with the pandemic, I wanted something fun, something light, something
Absolutely.
enjoyable. I didn't want to add anything sad to the world. So I was like, you know what? I'll make a fun book and just go with it.
And that you did. That definitely you did. What about, once again, before we go a little bit more deeper into the book, what about Halloween and horror? Did you always like horror? Do you like scary stuff? Like, what's the scariest thing for you?
Oh, scariest thing for me. That's really tough. I mean, I've been watching and reading horror since like I was a little girl, even before my parents knew that I was doing it. Me and my cousin would like sneak into his parents' like secret movie collection because they're big horror fans, and they had all like the classics, and we would like stay up all night and watch those. And then my mom was she's an English teacher, so when I told her I wanted to read like the more classic horror, like Monk or Dracula, she was like, of course, and so I just always had a love for it. Scariest thing for me though, like people, like psychological stuff, like cannibals, especially, like that idea is like scary to me.
Do exorcisms freak you out?
No. Oddly enough, no, that's not. Maybe that's why it's fun to me, instead of like I'm like, oh, demons, angels, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's fun. To me, I think people are scarier than that kind of stuff.
That says a lot, and I kind of do agree, though. Even though, I don't know what's exorcism. Like, I know you love, like, Dylan loves the movie, The Exorcist.
Oh yeah, well, it's.
Oh yeah,
it's a classic. It's
love it. Yeah.
Then
but I wouldn't say it scares me, but I enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, I don't think it ever scared me. I think with The Exorcist, I just think it's just a phenomenal movie that happens.
The practical effects.
Yeah. I mean, The Exorcist is known. I don't know if you know this, but like that's when that came out, it was known for being shown in theaters and people leaving the theater screaming. Like
I
that
can see that happening.
That was like a phenomenon. Like that was something like that generation just never experienced.
Yeah, it was like the first time anything like that came out, in like mass theaters. So,
did you ever watch Evil, the TV show called Evil?
That sounds so.
It's
What's it about?
It's done by CBS. I think she's like a psychological. No, she thinks she's a therapist.
She's a therapist, yeah.
And she works with the archdiocese and this priest, and she gives like the scientific reasoning behind demonic exorcisms and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that came on like Prime recently. I think I watched it like a month ago or so.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was really fun. I thought they did a really good job with it.
See, like I love stuff like that. I thought it was so fun. I enjoyed it was cheesy at parts, but I like that kind of cheese.
Yeah.
I'm also like a huge fan of like B horror movies, like the horrible ones. So.
For example?
Gosh, anything with sharks in it.
Oh, like the Sharknadoes?
There's even worse than that.
What?
There's what is it? Dinosaur Priest one. I forget. I don't know if it's called Dinosaur
Did
Priest.
you just say Dinosaur Priest? Oh my god.
Yeah, or no, it's a priest and he turns into like a raptor. It might be called Raptor Priest. I can't.
Oh, good God.
I watched like bottom of the barrel movies. Just
I feel like you and Sam would get along.
Yeah, Sam from Sam's So Spooky.
Spooky.
I can't handle that. Like, it's not just horror, but if it goes below a certain threshold, I'll just walk away. I can't do it.
What?
And the fact that you said something was worse than Sharknado is...
Oh yeah. Oh, it's amazing what there is.
You would definitely get along with her. Like we have her on with segments called KPM Supernatural, but they also do KPM Holidays, and they talk about like certain movies for certain holidays. And way back in December, she did 25 Days of Horror, and we did a special with her late January in this case. And yeah, bottom of the barrel kind of deal for Christmas, for Valentine's Day, for St. Patrick's Day, in general.
Oh yeah, every holiday there is a bad horror movie for.
Absolutely.
And I love it. There's good ones too, but there are also some very I don't even know how they came up with it, like using computer graphics. It's just really
Agreed. My goodness. All right, so when did you first consider yourself a writer? When you were like, okay, like you said fitness training, you were a personal trainer, sorry. And I'm assuming you did that for a long time, and that was like something that like made you happy, obviously. So
yeah.
How
I mean,
was
I
the
always
switch?
loved fitness. I mean, I always loved fitness, and that was kind of like my full-time job. I did consider myself a writer because I was doing some stuff on the side, all throughout. I never did anything of my own, So I guess I made the switch to like an official published author, 6 months ago. But before that, I did consider myself a writer still, I wrote almost every day, no matter what. So.
Oh, I love that. How was your publishing journey? How was publishing your first book like?
I'm still learning. I'm still, figuring out the ropes of everything. Advertising is tough, and like knowing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, connecting with people, not, rubbing anybody the wrong way or being too pushy, but still like trying to get yourself out there, I've like reached out to people and had them be very snarky back to me. And then I've reached out to people and had them be really cool about it. So it's like, sometimes it's worth it, I guess.
I laugh and giggle at the same time because I understand that so well. I studied, business and marketing, and I do have other podcasts, I have other businesses as well. And you kind of have to you have to know how to advertise yourself, but you have to like put yourself out there no matter what. And even with us, I mean, it could be a small podcast or a big podcast. You still have to ask people to leave a review, like we don't have to be so like on top of it, but like once in a while, little things like that, like please follow us, please share, please, because everything, every little bit helps. And usually when I do have DMs and like you came through, our DM, of course, because, IG's everything lately. Like, of course, I'm most likely going to say yes, depending on what it is. Obviously, if it fits the mold, this one obviously does. I'm like, okay, of course. Like, maybe I told you, maybe not right away, but I'll get to it. And I did. And here I am. So it's the least that we can do, like, I get it. So.
Yeah, no. And, I have other authors reach out to me too. I've started doing reviews for other authors, especially like indie authors. I always want to try to help. But, I got someone who sent me a cookbook and I was like,
cookbook.
I was like, that's not really in my wheelhouse. I was like, I mean, I bought it and I left a review on Amazon, but I was like, I'm not gonna, I'm more of like a horror,
That was the very sweet of you that you actually bought it though.
I did. Yeah. I felt bad. I was like, well, I wanted to help.
How'd you even review that? Would you just make everything and judge the food?
I just like checked it out. I don't think I actually made anything. But it was well written and the pictures were pretty. So I was like, okay.
There you go. I guess the thing is like it's the way that they tell you how, like the instructions, I mean.
Yeah.
And the pictures have to be pretty, especially with the cooking book. Like I feel like they have to be. You really have to. We did see that though. Your feed is covered with a lot of beautiful pictures of yourself, and also the reviews for literally a whole bunch of other indie authors. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to get more and more, it's, when people send me their books and stuff, it's like always great. I can do a review right away, but sometimes, I still want to purchase it. And so I could leave a proper review on Amazon, and I have unlimited. So like that helps a lot because a lot of indie authors do the KDP unlimited, and that makes it so easy. And I'm like, okay, then I can get it and then I can review it and I don't have to worry about Amazon taking my review away eventually. But I am trying to get around, and I'm trying to, I would love to do like one indie author, like a month or two a month eventually,
So
just
how
to support
often do
the
you
community.
read?
That's kind of tough now. I used to read probably like a book a week or like every week or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I used to read a lot. But then once I started writing more, I find it a little bit more difficult. Because sometimes I'm in my own zone, and then I try to read somebody else's book, and I just like, I read a page and then I'm like, oh, I got an idea for my book. So I got to go back and work on that. So it's definitely slowed me down a little bit.
What authors inspire you?
I mean, as a kid, I would have to say like R.L. Stein was like a big one for me.
No one talks about R.L. Stein. Good for bringing him up. Scared
I
us as
love
children.
him. I love him to this day. I always have to give him credit because I'm like, just the humor and the horror and like keeping it kid friendly, which I don't know if I could ever do, but I really appreciated that about him.
Yeah,
So he's a big one for me.
Being a children's author is insane because there's like a whole lot of vocabulary you can't use, not just like talking vulgarity, just like it has to be very, very basic, and to kind of keep it in that line
and keep it interesting for them.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go too many details, I want to say.
Yeah, it's kind of base, but he created so many amazing characters and so many amazing monsters. It's like
he's from the
really impressive
with Jack Black, right?
Well, yes, the Goosebumps movie. Dear.
Goosebumps. Sorry, I was like, what? That's your childhood, my love, not mine.
Yes, and he did make a cameo in that at the very end, and it was wonderful.
It was wonderful.
I'm like, I remember I'm like, this sounds really familiar. I feel like I like this movie as well. Yes.
Well, now I have to ask, did you ever watch the TV series?
Oh yeah. I have a bunch of the VHSs at my parents' house still.
Love that.
I love people with the VHS collection. I respect that so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
My husband requested I not bring that to our new house, but I still have it at my parents' house.
Override that.
They make a decoration too. Like good.
I tried to argue that, but he already said I had too many books. So I was like, okay, fine. Compromise.
I mean, right now we don't have the space, and I don't have any VHSs because unfortunately through time they just kind of all withered away. But when we have our own place, I do want my VHS collection. Just the old boxes. I mean, you got me that amazing shirt with like my top 10.
Old man Ghostface. Like he's
good man. We
follow him. He follows us. We have him on our show as well and whatnot. He's just a great human being overall. He loves Scream, but he also makes these hoodies and hoodies and t-shirts and whatever you want actually. And it's your top 10 horror movies, but they're VHSs. So that's always like, yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, I got that for him for his birthday, for Christmas, sorry. And yeah, pretty cool. The VHS.
Indeed. Thank you again. What is would you say, your most underappreciated novel that you've read? Something that you love, but the world is like, eh.
The world is like, eh. I don't know. The one that just first comes to mind is The Shadow of the Wind. Like, I know like it has such great reviews and it is appreciated, like for sure. But like, it still bothers me and boggles my mind that like I will be talking to like bookstagrammers and people that read all the time and they'll be like, oh, I never read that. And I'm like, what? could you not have read that? Like, it's got everything, like, especially like a book lover would want. There's like a secret catacomb of like libraries under Barcelona. Read the book. You know? Other than that, I mean, The Monk is a great classic, like, gothic horror that I feel like, and besides, maybe people read it for school, but I don't think people have actually like sat down and enjoyed it. I don't know.
I definitely put those two on the list, especially The Shadow of the Wind. For a second there, I thought you said The Name of the Wind. That was the first thing. That's why I was like, wait. I'm like, oh, never mind. The Shadow of the Wind. But then you mentioned, but no, I read it. Well, I read it way before you did. But anyways,
name one character.
I read it 10 years ago, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, welcome to our weekly debates of books. But you mentioned Barcelona, and I'm like, ooh, Barcelona. I lived there. Well, we both lived there for many years.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm jealous. So jealous. I haven't even gone, and I want to so bad. You know, they have a tour for the book there that you could take.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, I want to do that.
They do.
Why did you not tell me of this book when we were living in Barcelona?
You weren't as big of a reader in Barcelona, were you?
Yes, I was. I was reading King at the time.
Well, you're always reading King. There's no... But still. I don't know why. I took you to other really cool places, though. I took you to a cemetery. That's really cool.
Okay. I want to go on the book tour.
But yes, it's a beautiful city. Like, I love... It's like a home away from home for me. So yeah, definitely. I was like, oh, Barcelona. Talking about King, actually, do you read King? Do you like King?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, besides R.L. Stine, King was like my second biggest, inspiration. I like Joe Hill too a lot.
I've actually not read anything by his son. Do you recommend?
Yes. Read Horns. Do you like graphic novels?
Oh, of course.
Read Lock and Key. Lock and Key is so good.
We watched the first season and loved it. Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it. Is it good?
As people who did not read the graphic novel first, we loved it.
I always get so scared every time I like read a novel or like a graphic novel regular, and then like there's a show or a movie. I'm like, I don't know.
Same.
I'm skeptical.
But from our perspective, we did not read the graphic novel. The show's pretty awesome.
They did a pretty good job with it. Like, it's one of our favorite shows.
And
it's pretty well, I'm assuming the comic's kind of the same. I don't want to say lighthearted, but it's not
lighthearted. It's actually
it doesn't go super dark. I love the show. Like, I don't like dark things, but the show is.
Oh, the comic goes really dark.
Do you think the show goes really dark, or is it just me not understanding what dark is? Apparently, because that wouldn't be the first time that would happen.
I'm willing to bet, like anything, the graphic novel goes darker.
Yeah, exactly.
But
they usually are.
But it did have a dark tone.
Well, yeah, of course. It wasn't fun. You know what I mean? It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't Goosebumps the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't that. No, it was like, I don't know, Sabrina, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to check it out, but I would say the graphic novels very dark, especially at the end. I don't know how far the show.
Only one season. I think.
So okay. I don't think. I mean, left, of course, is always on a very humongous cliffhanger. So I know they're filming it by now. Or
I think they're in
or,
production right now.
Yeah, so we do want to get the graphic novels, though.
Yeah, I would recommend you guys read it.
And what was the other Joe Hill you mentioned?
Horns. I really like Horns a lot.
Horns, okay.
And I always forget the other one that's really, really good. I'll message you about it later.
Thank you.
Definitely.
And from son to dad, I know it's tough, but what are your top kings?
Oh, top kings. I love Carrie. Love Carrie.
It was very sad for me. I felt so bad for her.
Yeah, that's why I liked it, though. I feel like that was like one of the best, like really getting me to feel for the characters that he's ever done. That's why I picked that one, because the other ones, sometimes in his books, I really don't care what happens to the characters at all. I want to see what happens, but I'm like, You're fine.
Yeah, sometimes I really do, like you said, I get more lost in the story and the characters
Yeah.
are kind of there. Like, you're cool characters, don't get me wrong, but
Oh yeah, no,
it's
he
the
creates
story.
cool characters. I have a weird relationship with The Shining book and movie, because like there's things that I like about the book, and there's parts that make me want to like bang my head against a wall while I'm reading that book. I've read it probably like 3 times, and like every time I'm like, do I like this? Yeah, I do. But I kind of don't at the same time. I don't know.
What makes you want to bang your head?
Some of the descriptions go on for like so long that it makes like, I feel like, you know, he does that a lot where he like describes things in like painstakingly detailed.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it works great. I think there was a few times in The Shining where I was just like, stop. Can we like get back to what's going on? And the whole thing with the bushes got me. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the shrubberies.
Yeah, the shrubbery.
When I read it for the first time, I was like, this is awesome in a book. This cannot be done in a motion picture. I think it would look really cheesy.
Well, did you see his like the TV version that he did?
I've only heard about it. I've never
They did it with they did the shrubbery. And it's bad. It's so bad.
For Ari and people who've not read The Shining, shame on you, but they're at this massive hotel, the Overlook Hotel, and they have what do you call them? Hedge animals?
Yeah.
They have different animals, you know, cut into
Okay. Yeah.
The bushes, and they come to life and they start attacking and kind of guarding the Overlook from people coming in or people leaving. And yeah, when you explain it, it's like, what the hell?
Exactly. It's like, okay.
But in the book, it works. It really, really
Sounds
works.
like kids.
But yeah.
See, the first time I read it, I thought it works. The second time I read it, I didn't think it worked. And then the third time I was like, okay. I think I liked it.
I mean, that's a hell of a top 3. And you brought up The Shining, so now I have to ask, what do you think of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining?
I love it.
Really?
I do.
That's so sweet. She's saying in such a sweet way. I do.
I know. I have this weird thing where if a book is like, or a movie's made after a book, if they take creative license and it's different enough that it's almost like I kind of like it sometimes, where I'm like, okay, it doesn't have to be exactly as the book. Because, you know, as someone who always reads the book and then watches the movie, I'm like, sometimes I like seeing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to see like a different interpretation of it. Did I like everything about it? No, but I did like it. I like Dr. Sleep too. Love Dr. Sleep.
I love the book. I haven't watched the movie yet.
I enjoyed both. I thought they were both great.
Book or movie for The Shining?
Like over book, I would like better.
And Dr. Sleep? Book or movie?
Book, yeah, obviously. I think I'm always gonna pick the book, but I still like the movies for like anyway. Like just because there's some differences and maybe I didn't agree with all of them doesn't mean I'm not gonna enjoy it, I guess.
Okay. In your opinion, would you say that The Shining is, or Dr. Sleep for that matter, is the best King movie adaptation?
That's a really good question.
Because for me personally, and I think KPM fam knows, I absolutely love and adore Misery. I think
Misery, yeah.
I love the book so much, but it's one of those few rare times I think like the movie really can stand toe to toe with it.
It really does. I think what's that actress's name? I always forget her name.
Oh no.
Misery?
I have to look it up. I have to look it up now. She is amazing.
She does amazing. And I think when you have someone just portray a character so perfectly. It's like it makes
Kathy
the movie
Bates.
kind of. Kathy Bates, yes, she made that movie. She
God,
really did. Yeah.
I mean, I think she's joked about it, but it was also a lot of truth in it. Like they said, what was it like doing Misery? Oh, it was wonderful. But then after, I was really hard to get a date because she plays like the ultimate psycho. And like what you said at the very beginning of the podcast, that psychological horror, and that's all Misery is. There's nothing supernatural. You have a very strong, powerful woman with a man with 2 broken legs, and she has a crazy obsession.
Is it like
see, that's way scarier to me than anything else.
The Invisible Man? The Invisible Man?
Yes. What about it?
Is it like that story? Movie?
Well, that's a little bit more science fiction, because like the new movie you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly what you loved.
Yeah. He creates like a science fiction type suit.
Oh, okay.
But
because it reminded me of the woman who was like, I didn't see the movie. He did. He loved it. I don't know if you watched it, The Invisible Man.
Oh, I did. Yeah, it was very, very good. Really
and like the psychological horror with her, because the only thing he told me was like she's trying to escape the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And just like not being able to. I'm like, oh, that's
yeah. All on the same lines, I'd say.
Okay.
But Misery is just something else. I taught I'm a teacher, and I was actually able to sneak in a quick King lesson, and I showed them like a 2-minute clip of Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes, and they were petrified.
What scene did you do?
It actually wasn't even that bad. It was when he gives her the manuscript to read, and she wakes him up in the middle of the night, like,
oh yeah,
she can't be dead. And then he's like, oh, it's just a story. And then she starts shaking the bed and starts screaming at him. They were terrified. Like, haha.
They were high schoolers, right?
Yes.
Well, it's like they weren't little kids.
Oh,
they were
wow,
high schoolers. Exactly.
For some reason, I was picturing you showing this to like little kids.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, we have to let them know these are high schoolers. I forgot what grade right now, but
I think they were my sophomore class.
Okay. Well, yeah, so still. I know one of your favorite questions you always ask King people, King lovers, is what's your favorite King villain?
Oh. Also, it's okay for your villain to change every day like mine, because everyone like throws in Pennywise, and I love Pennywise, and Randy Flagg. I love Randy Flagg.
Yeah.
He's a lot of the time my number one, but I think Annie Wilkes gets forgotten. Like, she is pure terror.
Yeah, I would have to pick her. I think. Just to stand by my point that I think that's like the scariest thing, is like when someone is like a regular person, just like has all that control.
Did you?
I would pick Pennywise. Even as a spider, I wasn't really scared of Pennywise.
Oh, I love it, the story. I love and adore that story, but just it's one of those things where I think the spider works in the book, but when you see it on screen, it's like, that shouldn't be the reaction. Like, oh, it's a spider. Like, really?
It's kind of disappointing when you see the spiders. Like, really?
That's okay.
And I think I actually, that was one of the movies I watched it before I read the book, and I think that kind of like spoiled it a little bit for me.
Same.
Unfortunately.
I watched Tim Curry's version when I was like a teenager. Read the book like 10 years later. Love the book, but
it's good. Yeah. I think just watching the movie prevented it from being one of my favorites, but it is good.
It's in my top 10, I would say. Did you watch the new It, part 1 and part 2?
I didn't watch part 2. I watched part 1.
What did you think of part 1?
I wasn't the biggest fan of part 1. I that's why I didn't watch part 2. It's just, it kind of lost me at parts. it wasn't awful. The guy who did Pennywise did a good job, I think, for the most part.
I think he was the best part. I
He
absolutely
was.
loved him. But just the whole point of the story, and I've gone on and on about this, and I'm sorry you have to listen to it again. But the whole point of the story is going back and forth between kids and adults. And without that dynamic, it didn't work. And I honestly wouldn't waste your time with part 2. The theater distraught.
Really?
I was so angry.
Yeah, I mean, the kids just I think that's what it was with the first one. I didn't like it just being them as kids. And I couldn't, I don't know, I didn't care as much. And yeah, Pennywise was definitely the best. I feel like they should have just did the back and forth, maybe. Maybe it would have been better.
I mean, I think now, the time we're living in, it's all about the miniseries. And I just believe that Hollywood needed that big summer blockbuster, and I think they probably outbid everyone just to get it, because that should be 2 seasons on HBO. That's how it works. 2 movies, all that information. No, but I digress. I'm not bitter about those movies at all.
Not at all. My goodness.
You're gonna say something, dear?
Yes. Before we continue on King, I do want to start talking about her book a little bit more.
Okay.
There you go. So tell us the name of your book. Tell us what's your book's about so we can talk a little bit more about it.
Okay, well, you said it before, the extremely long title, Riley's Excellent and Not at All Fake Exorcism Service. It focuses on a struggling writer who I may or may not have kind of based off of myself a little bit. Exaggerated. Everything's exaggerated. I definitely don't drink like she drinks. I would die. And she kind of gets herself into a little predicament with demons and possession. And, I just wanted to create a fun, wild ride, and hopefully I did.
You did. Definitely you did. What came, well, you said high school already, you already started this story way back in high school ish, right?
Mostly just the demons and angel side of things.
And what came first, the plot, the characters?
I guess the plot, because I didn't the demon that ends up helping her in the story, he was actually one of the last characters I created, and before that it was really just a concept of a general idea of a demon, how demons interact with modern society and stuff like that, and
you
how they
good quirks here and there, exactly what you said, how they react to society at how is it now, also their relationship with one another as well. You threw a few Game of Thrones references in there as well. For example. And I guess my follow-up question would be, with all the different characters, how did you research, or what made you think continue down that path of okay, it's definitely going to be exorcism, or it's definitely going to be demons?
I mean, it's just religion in general has just always been a topic that I've been fascinated with, and I did, like I said, want to create kind of a modern version of what I think the biblical characters would be like today. With the relationships between the characters, I love a character driven story. I think it's really important just to get people to care, and I know Riley, some people have told me they love Riley. Some people have told me they hate her. And I'm that's fine. You do you, whatever. But so I didn't want it to be all about the main character. Sometimes I feel when the story only focuses solely on one character, if people don't like them, then they're not going to like the story at all. So I did want to have very dynamic relationships between all of the characters. So there hopefully would be somebody that people would like.
You did. I completely agree. I neither like Riley nor dislike her. I think she has a lot of good power moves, and her intention usually it's in the right place at some points of the book. Other ones
at some
points. You're okay. But she did. I mean, she did save. That was her main intention throughout the whole thing, I guess, like trying to save like the people who are Lily's garden, I want to say.
Mhm.
And I liked her best friend a lot. And the priest.
Andrea is awesome, yeah.
Andrea is very awesome. I loved how you also reflected like she's always so kind and nice and charity, and like you brought like once again that kind of to the funness and the easiness to read of it all. You have like the little hidden messages / lessons, and I appreciate those kind of things. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And the priest was pretty cool. It was a pretty interesting touch as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know I wanted to have a priest in it. He wasn't like in it as much originally. Like I said, you know, when I first came up with the concept, it wasn't really a comedy at all. And I actually had the idea of Riley as a character for a different story entirely. And when I decided I wanted this to be funny, I decided to take her into this like serious situation and just see how this ridiculous human being handles this, you know, all this demon possession and everything, the crazy going on. You know, she's a very jaded person. She's an atheist. She's a struggling writer. She's totally unprepared. And I wanted to see how somebody would handle that situation.
I like the fact you added a witch right at the end, which is pretty cool as well, because I love witches. Yes. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't expecting this. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it. Maybe I should have. I don't know. I was like, oh, okay. That's
cool. I plan on making this a series, and I just want to have as many different kinds of creatures and like magical people and demons and angels and everything. I just like mixing pot of craziness.
And that's also another something you want to announce, because another one of my questions, because of course it ends on I don't know if I call it a cliffhanger, but it ends up with enough like intrigue that you want to know what happens next. Like, you know, something's coming up. You're like, okay, where is this leading to?
Yes. So I actually have it planned out in my head. I kind of have a rough draft where I do plan on having there be about 8 books, I'm thinking.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the second book should be available for pre-order very, very soon.
That's so exciting. Oh my goodness gracious. I love that you said 8, like not even a trilogy. It's like, I'm Harry Potter. Like just like 8, basically. I also did see it like a movie though. Like, I think that's pretty cool. I feel like these are pretty easy zines to like work through. Like, you could probably see it. I see that happening.
Oh, that's very sweet of you.
It's true though. Like, it's a fun read without a doubt. Oh goodness. I was gonna ask her something else. I forgot.
Well, when you think about that, I need to throw just like a total curveball, because I'm very curious about something. You said you went to Catholic high school, right?
Yes.
Now, I went to public school. I don't know, and I'm not Catholic. When you talked about you had like religious classes, like did they talk about demons or anything along that nature?
We would talk about it a little bit. I actually went and I read like the whole Bible myself, just because I'm a reader. I like reading, and I'm a little curious. We in a couple of my religion courses, we talked about religions around the world. Obviously, it's a Catholic school, so they focused on like the Catholic faith, and just general curiosity led me to looking into it more and more. I definitely later on in the book plan on incorporating, mythologies from other religions as well, but I decided to start with more of a Christian based, religion, just because that's like what I'm most familiar with. So I didn't really have to do too much research on it, because that's what I was raised around.
That's super interesting as well. It's so cool that you're going to add those features to it as well. Because once again, and when you read it, you don't have religion in your face. It's all like, oh, religion, this, religion, that. No, it's like, it's there, but that's pretty much it. And like I said, you have like these mini, not lessons, but you're like, oh, like little insights of how things are, the good, quote unquote, the good, quote unquote, the bad, and things like that. You once again remind me of our KPM Supernatural episodes. Well, the true crime episodes with the whole psychological horror.
Yeah.
But with these KPM Supernatural with Sam So Spooky, because we do talk about demons in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
And you love demons and demonology. So
Yes.
this is kind of up your alley, just for fun, you know? I remember my question. I was actually a two-parter. One was, is there anything in the book that also reflected you as a person? Or is it just because she's a struggling author? Not the whole drinking part, obviously.
Yeah. No. You know, when I originally came up with her character, as I told you before, she kind of was from something else. I think a lot of like her characteristics and just being like down and out a little bit reflected a lot of feelings I had maybe like at my worst points. So I kind of like took all of that together, created a character. And, you know, I don't really deal with things with sarcasm and like thinly veiled anger, but she kind of does. And, you know, I always wondered what it would be like if my experiences led me to be more like that. So in that way, I guess she kind of is a reflection of myself, but like an alternate version of maybe what I could have been if things had gone differently. But character wise, I don't really think I'm like super similar to any of them. You know, most of them are people based off of people that I know or certain characteristics that I like or dislike about certain people. Yeah, I really take a lot of outside inspiration from others. Like Andrea is totally based off of like one of my best friends.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Does she know that?
No, and she never actually read the book, so.
So okay, there you go. That's still pretty cool though, because like I do, like of course, who wouldn't love Andrea? Yeah. I love how you made her. I don't know what heritage she has, but you threw some Spanish words in there as well, and I'm like, of course. Like that's so cool. Well,
you know, being from New Jersey and like, you know, being in the New Jersey, New York area, I definitely didn't, you know, I hate when a book just has, you know, especially when it takes place in an area where, you know, there's multiple cultures. I think you should have multiple cultures in your book. It doesn't really make sense if like everybody is one way. So that was important to me just to keep, you know, it realistic to what I see in my everyday life.
And that actually leads me really perfectly to the second question that I had in mind was the title of the book. How did you come up with the title of the book and the title of the chapters? Because one of them is also called, not New Jersey. It wasn't New Jersey, was it? But it was like the worst place, the shittiest place. I forgot, but it has to do with New Jersey. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm like looking through your book and I'm like, what's the name of the episode? I mean, of the chapter. How did you come up with it, with the name of the book? And the chapters, of course.
Well, the name of the book was, you know, it took a while. I was like shooting back names back and forth. It was actually me, my husband, my mom, and my sister, and we were all in a room together, and we were just going back and forth and trying to come up with names. And I said, okay, I was like, you know what, this is super long. I don't know how it popped into my head. I was like, this is super long, and then I told it to them. And my sister and my mom just cracked up. And I was like, all right, I think that's it. My husband, who also designed my book cover, by the way, he was like, no, you can't do that. I'm not going to be able to fit that on the cover of the book. But we ended up doing it anyway. And I feel no regrets for that.
Love it.
And as for the chapter titles, I just had them be one-liners that Riley said. So
that's so cool. It's chapter 10, a terrible, horrible place, New Jersey.
Yep.
It's such a good part of the book as well. Like I remember exactly what happens, and like that's how fun your book is, because you actually remember the title with like what happens with it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, it was hard sometimes coming up with like something good for her to say at the end that could go into the chapter title, but it was also fun. It's a little bit of a challenge, and I kind of like that about it.
I liked how you did a full circle, especially right at the end when you talk about the name of the book. Like that's a mouthful. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I like to call myself out too. I do that a lot in even the second book coming up, where I call out some like, little quirks I have as a writer because, I know. And, it's just, I like calling myself out. I don't think, it's a fun series. I'm not really concerned about any like breaking of the third wall or anything like that, So I'm just having fun with it.
And one of your many dedications, the first one says, "Sorry, Mom, for all the cursing." How come you included cursing? Is it something fun once again that you wanted to include, or?
Yeah, I just
the New Jersey in
Riley, I mean, to me, Riley just seemed like she'd be someone who would talk like a sailor. I don't know. I was just like, I think she just is in a point in her life where she doesn't give an F, and she's just gonna say what comes to her mind. And I thought she does. Funny. Yeah, and I thought it was funny to have a writer use such crass language, and like, she's not very articulate, even though she's a writer. And I wanted to try to maybe make people think like maybe she's not that great of a writer, because she's, everything she says is very baseline, very just, crass, and I enjoyed writing it, honestly. I thought it was fun.
I love the dedication at the end because you mentioned literally the same people: your mom, your sister, your husband.
Yeah.
Kudos for him and the art, of course. Is he an artist? This is for fun, or?
Yeah, I mean, he used to in high school do some graphic design, but he hasn't done anything in years. He's a finance man. But I came up with the sketches for the cover, and then he actually cut out the images with colored paper. So it was fun, and we're gonna keep it going for the series. So I'm gonna torture him more.
Good.
Can you talk about, because you said something that really caught my ear. You want to, you started with Christianity and you want to go to other mythologies. Mm-hmm. Any chance you're going to go ancient mythology?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm planning on it a little bit.
That gets me very excited.
I don't want to say too much about it because it's definitely coming in a little bit later, but yeah, I want to grab a little bit from different cultures and just like really mix it up and have fun.
That's awesome.
I love that. Once again, I see it like a movie. I see it like it's one of those things for him. I mean, he has up to today's recording, at least. You haven't read it just yet, but I feel like for when it's closer to fall, because you read these kind of more in fall.
Yes.
It's a quick read for you. It's a quick read overall. But it's fun. It's like, oh.
It is. It's a very quick read.
Do you have Audible by any chance? Or is that something you're going to look into? Something you want to do?
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking after I get book 2 out there, I'm also working on a shorter novella. I'm going to start doing Audible because I really did want to do that. I just wanted to see how it did at first. I wanted to see also if I could find someone with like a nice voice to read it. I didn't really know how it works. I mean, I guess you could hire someone, but I also thought it'd be fun to just read it myself because I know some people like that. So
I was going to say self-narrate.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I mean, I personally love when that happens. You remind me of I don't know if you read her, Elizabeth Acevedo. She wrote With the Fire on High and Clap When I Land and The Poet X. And she's just an incredible young writer, and that's who you reminded me of. She's one of my favorite writers, and I talk about her a lot. I don't do King, I don't do horror, but I love reading. Sorry, I have a whole different genre. And she's also was one of my guests on my older podcast as well. But I'll definitely send the link your way as well. Writing, that kind of feel to it. With The Fire on High, I feel like it had that kind of reflection to it that I think you probably would appreciate as well. That has nothing to do with horror, once again.
I read other things. That's okay.
But I feel like it's an interesting take, and people who have actually come up to me through KPM like, oh, I read her too, and I'm surprised that you like her because she's not horror based once again. But yeah, definitely. Talking really quickly before we go about the novella, are you going to start writing things that are darker because you do like dark, obviously?
I do. I probably will soon. The next one's not going to really be that dark. I'm kind of enjoying taking a lighter approach to it, but I still always want to incorporate some horror, supernatural into everything that I do. I definitely plan on maybe upping the blood and gore factor in some things. But I do enjoy writing very like fun, light, witty characters and like playing with them. I do have another book that's more of a psychological like thriller, I guess, and that's definitely more on the dark side. I wrote that a few years ago. I definitely sometime in the future plan on revisiting that and getting back to that. But for now, I'm kind of enjoying the fun, light vibe. And with the novella, I think I can even pump it out faster. That'd be great. I want to write more and more.
I'm so thrilled to hear that. I'm so happy that through the darkness that has been last year in this, you went from something that you already loved, but you turned yourself into a writer. And way back in February, we had different authors as well. We had Richard Chismer on, and well, I'm pretty sure you know him. He's what's his book, babes?
Gwenny's Magic Feather, Gwenny's Button Box.
Exactly, that he read. Oh my God, he wrote with Stephen King. But we also had Jeff Carter. We had Joshua and Brianna, and once again, all three of them are, because Richard's famous by now, obviously, but all three of them are indie writers. And you quickly reminded me of Joshua Bates, because once again, COVID happened, pandemic happened, and then all of a sudden, like, you're right. So that's awesome. Like, I love hearing those stories. Much like you were saying earlier, this episode was like, you try to help out as much as you can. Well, that's why we have people like you on, because of course, especially if it fits the theme, then you're not selling us a cookbook, are you? Maybe a horror cookbook. I don't know how that would go, but still.
that might be fun.
That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be cool though. Like, I feel like you could like, oh my God, once again, Elizabeth, sorry, with the Fire on High, she's a chef, or she's trying to be a chef basically, but she integrates a lot of her personal style into her work. That's what she reminded me of you. And through a few of the chapters, you have like what she was making. So stuff like that. That would be cool. But like horror themed. There you go. Random. Alrighty then. Anything else you want to tell us, Sophie?
Yes. Okay. So in around next Halloween, I am going to be part of a horror collective, which will be very exciting. I wrote a short story called The Green Window. That'll be coming out in that. Other than that, keep an eye out for the second book in my series.
Yay! Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. I'm so happy that we have you here on the podcast and we're able to talk to you. I was gushing already, believe me. I was like,
thank
so
you for having
excited.
me.
Oh my gosh. And of course, before we wrap up, we always ask our guests 3 questions. What's the first one?
Favorite Halloween candy?
Ooh, Reese's.
Clutch.
Exactly. How would you describe Halloween in 3 words?
Magical, spooky, fantastic.
Love it. Because it is so much. And of course, where can we find you?
Sophie.and.clean on Instagram, and you can follow my link tree in the bio.
There you go. So we're definitely gonna tag you as always, and like tell our authors and I keep saying authors, my goodness, tell our KPM fan, our listeners, to follow you. And yeah, so thank you so much for being with us today.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to read your second book. My goodness. Bye.